Thank you, Laskin Curla, and I welcome the opportunity to contribute to this debate. And I think anything that gives consumers greater protection is to be welcome. And unfortunately, we're all too well aware of situations where financial institutions have shattered the trust that they've been placed in them and have exploited people's lack of financial expertise for their own material gain. And we read only in the last few days a report by Charlie Weston in the Irish Independent, though, in relation to the Financial Services Ombudsman's office, and where he said that it's claimed that this is on the verge of collapse, that there's up to 5 years for people waiting for consumers to have their complaints heard. And you know, I do, and I'm very sure other people do as well, deal with constituents who have issues with particular financial institutions, and we make representations on their behalf, and we can see the anxiety, the worry and the fear that they go through while waiting to have these concerns or their queries addressed. So to have somebody going to a financial services ombudsman and have to wait for up to 5 years is certainly not good enough at all. In fact, financial advisors are now advising consumers that they would be better off going to court. And we know the whole reason the Financial Services Ombudsman Office was established was to establish a free complaint resolution service for consumers, a state body that was to be funded and is funded by levies on financial service providers and by a grant from government, and whose findings are legally binding. But if financial advisors are now telling people to bypass this independent body, to go down the legal route, well then it's failing in its duty. Now, I met a financial service ombudsman, or sorry, a financial advisor quite recently, who has raised a number of concerns in regarding the Financial Services Ombudsman's office. He told me he currently has lodged 120 mortgage and pension mis-selling complaints with the Financial Service and Pension Ombudsman. We commenced filing complaints in December 2019, and the first complaint, which relates to a tracker dispute, has not processed as of the date of this paper, and that's only in the last couple of weeks. That's 1,460 days outstanding, while the European directive on the subject recommends a targeted 90 days for effective judgment. So here's a man dealing with a complaint, 1,460 days, and the European directive on the subject recommends 90 days. That is a serious, serious failing, and I know, Minister, other people have spoken to this in relation to whether this office is adequately resourced and whether it is adequately staffed. The briefing paper, which I'm going to share with you after my contribution, Minister, which you can share with Minister McGrath, sets out concerns regarding the process of justice available to our Irish resident purchasers of financial products and services. And the concerns are that the Financial Serviceman's Office does not adhere or appear to be cognisant of its obligations under the EU Directive on Alternative Dispute Entities. The Financial Services Pensions Ombudsman does not appear to be cognisant of the unfair terms in Consumer Contracts Directive. Misreporting and misclassification of rejected, refused complaints by the Financial Service and Pensions Ombudsman's Office to Europe, and breaches of the European principle of effectiveness. So, Minister, it's quite a comprehensive document, and I'm not going to go into it all, but as I said, I am going to share it with you, and I do hope that you will be able to bring it back to Minister McGrath to ascertain is this financial advisor correct in what he said, and is the Financial Services Ombudsman failing in its duties to protect consumers. They certainly are failing to protect consumers in the timeline that has been set down by the EU, and it would appear that they are rejecting outright certain cases without even giving them due consideration. One issue that is raised with me here is the financial serviceman does not report to EU required statistics, the average time taken to resolve disputes, and instead reports the number of complaints closed. In 2022, 47% of complaints were rejected, refused, deemed ineligible by the Customer Operations and Information Management team. These are complaints that do not reach investigation or mediation. And the Financial Service Pension Ombudsman does not report these complaints as rejected or refused in the European records. They're saying that the complaints are closed. What exactly does the terminology mean that the complaints are closed? 47%, almost half of the complaints that went in to the Financial Service Ombudsman's office in 2022 was closed. And yet still we see cases that they are investigating taking 1,500 days when they should be dealt with in a period of 9 days. That's definitely not good enough. Another issue in relation to the European Union's community's principle of effectiveness is that we shouldn't have to go to courts to get a position exonerated or to have a complaint upheld. But in this scenario, the only option following a determination by the Financial Service Ombudsman's office is to take a consumer to the High Court. The costs of this process are totally disproportionate to the claims involved, and therefore it's not really an option for many people to take a case against the High Court, and it's against the principle of effectiveness. And also I'm told that the Financial Service Ombudsman routinely in the letters issued to consumers indicating that if you're not happy with your decision, you can take this to the High Court, but if you do, just be wary that we may seek legal costs against any failed claims in the High Court. So, go to the court, but if you fail, we'll come after you for the cost. This office is meant to be there to be exonerating the ordinary citizen, the consumer who has been blackguarded by the bank or by the financial institution or by the insurance companies. And it's heavy-handed, in my opinion, some of the mechanisms in which they're going on with.